cloak and cover me with it. So I brought the Yemeni cloak and covered him with it. Then I looked at him and saw that his face was shining like a full moon with its glory and splendor. After a while, my son Hassan came in and said, "Peace be on you, mother." I replied, "And upon you peace, O light of my eyes and the delight of my heart." He then said, "Mother, I smell a fragrance so sweet and so pure as that of my grandfather, the Prophet of Allah." I replied, "Yes, your grandfather is lying underneath the cloak." Hassan went near the cloak and said, "Peace be on you, my grandfather, the Prophet of Allah. May I enter the cloak with you?" He replied, "And upon you peace, my son and the master of my fountain Kauthar, you are given the permission to enter." So Hassan entered the cloak with him. After a while, my son Hussein came in and said, "Peace be on you, mother." I replied, "And upon you peace, O light of my eyes and the delight of my heart." He then said, "Mother, I smell a sweet fragrance like that of my grandfather, the Prophet of Allah." I replied, "Yes, your grandfather and your brother are lying underneath the cloak." Hussein stepped towards the cloak and said, "Peace be on you, my grandfather, the chosen of Allah. May I enter the cloak with you?" He replied, "And upon you peace, my son and the interceder of my followers, you are given the permission to enter." So Hussein entered the cloak with them. After a while, Abul Hasan Ali ibn Abi Talib came in and said, "Peace be on you, O daughter of the Prophet of Allah." I replied, "And upon you peace, O father of Hassan and the commander of the faithful." He then said, "Fatima, I smell a sweet fragrance like that of my brother, my cousin, the Prophet of Allah." I replied, "Yes, he is underneath the cloak with your two sons." So Ali went near the cloak and said, "Peace be on you, Prophet of Allah. May I enter the cloak with you?" He replied, "Upon you peace, my brother, my legatee, my successor, and my standard bearer. You are given the permission to enter." So Ali entered the cloak with them. Then I stepped forward and said, "Peace be on you, my father, O Prophet of Allah. May I enter the cloak with you?" He replied, "And upon you peace, my daughter, O part of myself. You are given the permission to enter." So I entered the cloak with them. Getting together underneath the cloak, my father, the Prophet of Allah, held the two ends of the cloak and raised his right hand towards the heavens and prayed, "O Allah, these are the people of my household, Ahlul Bayt. They are my confidant and my supporter. Their flesh is my flesh, their blood is my blood. Whoever hurts them hurts me too. Whoever displeases them displeases me too. I am at war with those at war with them. I am at peace with those at peace with them. I am the enemy of their enemies, and I am the friend of their friends. They are from me, and I am from them. O Allah, bestow your blessings, benevolence, forgiveness, and your pleasure upon me and upon them, and remove impurity from them, and keep them thoroughly pure." Then the Lord Almighty Allah said, "O my angels, O residents of my heavens, verily, I have not created the erected sky, the stretched earth, the illuminated moon, the bright sun, the rotating planets, the flowing seas, and the sailing ships, but for the love of these five lying underneath the cloak." Jibril, the trusted angel, asked, "Who are under the cloak?" The Almighty answered, "They are the household of the Prophet and the assets of the prophethood. They are Fatima, her father, her husband, and her two sons." Jibril said, "O Lord, may I fly to earth to be the sixth of them?" Allah replied, "Yes, you are given the permission." Jibril the trusted landed near them and said, Peace be on you, O Prophet of Allah. The Highest conveys his peace on you and his greetings, and says, By my honor and glory, O my angels, O residents of my heavens, verily I have not created the erected sky, the stretched earth, the illuminated moon, the bright sun, the rotating planets, the flowing seas, and the sailing ships, but for your sake and love. God has given me permission to enter the cloak with you. May I join you, O Prophet of Allah? The Prophet replied, And peace be on you, O trusted bearer of Allah's revelations. You are granted the permission. So Jibril entered the cloak with us and said to my father, Allah sends his revelations to you. Verily Allah's desire is to remove blemish from you, O people of household Ahlul Bayt, and purify you with a perfect purification. Then Ali said to my father, O Prophet of Allah, tell me, what significance has Allah given for getting together underneath this cloak? The Prophet replied, By him who rightfully appointed me a prophet and chose me a messenger for the salvation of the mankind. Whenever and wherever an assembly of our followers and friends mention this event, Allah will bestow on them His blessings and mercy. Angels will encircle them, asking Allah the remission of their sins until the assembly disperse. So Ali said, Verily, by the Lord of Kaaba, we and our followers are the winners. Then my father replied, By him who rightfully appointed me a prophet and chose me a messenger for the salvation of the mankind. Whenever and wherever an assembly of our followers and friends mention this event, there shall remain none grieved, but Allah will remove his grief. There shall remain none distressed, but Allah will dispel his distress. There shall remain none wish seeker, but Allah will grant his wish. Ali happily said, Verily by the Lord of Kaaba, we and our followers are the winners and the blessed in this world and the next.
Let's have a loud salawat. Thank you, our brother Abbas, for that wonderful recitation of the translation of Hadith Qasa. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Now we kindly request Brother Adil Muhammad to recite a salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Salawat. क़ैद ग़म से रिहा हो के ज़ैनब शाम से करबला जा रही है क़ैद ग़म से रिहा हो के ज़ैनब क़ब्र सरवर पे आंसू बहाने अपने भैया का चेहलुम मनाने काफ़िला लेके अहले हरम का जानी करबला जा रही है क़ैद ग़म से रिहा हो के ज़ैनब तुमसे डरती थी सारी खुदाई ऐ शहे करबला के फ़िदाई بھاگئی تم کو جب سے تارائی فوج ہم پہ ستم ڈھا رہی ہے قید غم سے رہا ہو کے زینب اب ہے قاسم نہ عباس و اکبر کس سے مانگے مدد بنت حیدر ایک دل اس پہ داغ بہاتر اشک آنکھوں سے برسا رہی ہے قید غم سے رہا ہو کے زینب شام سے کربلا جا رہی ہے یاد اکبر میں آنسو بہا کر رہی ہے فغاں بنت حیدر دو اذاں اٹھ کے اے میرے دل بر صبح ہونے کو اب آ رہی ہے غم سے پھٹتا ہے معصوم سینہ یاد آتی ہے بالی سکینہ چھوڑ کر اس کو زندہ میں تنہا بنت مشکل کشا جا رہی ہے قید غم سے رہا ہو کے زینب شام سے کربلا جا رہی ہے صلوات
Ahsant, Jazakallah khair jaza, our dear brother Muhammad for that. Brother Adil, upon that wonderful salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Before we call our respected Sheikh to the member, if we could kindly request everyone to please come up as much to the front as possible, as inshallah more people will be coming in very soon. And please make sure that your phones are on silent. Without further ado, we kindly request the respected Sheikh Bilal to please take the member. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Before we begin, it is Thursday night, the night of Istijabat al-Du'a, the acceptance and answering of prayers. We take a moment to remember our marhumeen, the marhumeen of tonight's sponsors, Khususan Nisar Askari, Zohra Fatima, Tahira Begum, Kaniz Fatima, all those of our families and friends who have passed away, and all those who are in need of du'a. 1 Surah Fatiha, 3 times Surah Ikhlas. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. الحمد لله رب العالمين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين، واللعنة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تعالى في محكم كتابه الحكيم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والذين يقولون ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. آمنا بالله، صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد Your second salawat for love of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And your loudest salawat for ta'jeel faraj sahib al-asr wa zaman. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Our discussion across the next few nights is on the topic of learning from the concept of ziyarah. To start this conversation, yesterday's discussion upon the benefits of how to extract the benefits of a majlis and how to understand the benefits of the ziyarat of Imam Rada, one of the fundamentals we boiled down to was that having ma'rifah, and the more ma'rifah we possess, the greater we can extrapolate and the maximum extent of benefit that we can receive. To understand this and to improve this, one of the things and understandings that we have to come to is the concept of what is ziyarah. So inshallah we'll focus on this. Ziyarah literally means to turn away from something, to turn away in another direction. Which is why the concept of ziyarah, when we talk about it, we're saying that we're turning away from the world and turning to the direction of Allah and separating ourselves from the material and the dunya that we're possessed in and turning back in the direction of Allah. This idea of visitation and ziyarah, which is commonly known as visitation, right? Taking from one place and going to another, something matloob, it's something desired in the religion of Islam. Whether we take a look at it from the fundamentals of the concept of going to Mecca, for the concept of Hajj and Umrah, both of which are promoted, that Allah wants you to leave what you possess and come towards Him. Same way, death is that concept of leaving what exists here and going towards Allah and returning to Him, and the idea of man is to prepare for that coming. This concept of ziyarat isn't limited just to the Kaaba, but rather even the ziyarat of our Holy Prophet, and this is a much longer discussion, is mutawatir, meaning all of the Muslimin accept and believe that the ziyarat of the Prophet, whether alive or after his death, was something that was desired by Islam. The visitation of graves in general was something that was desired by the Ahlul Bayt and by the Prophet. We see, for example, our Prophet visits the grave of his mother when he goes to Mecca. We see that Sayyidah Fatima used to go to the grave of Hazrat Hamza every Friday to visit. It goes further, right? Today, if we have these tasbih made of khaq-e-shifa, the first tasbih of khaq-e-shifa was made by Bibi Fatima. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Meaning the Tariq narrates to us, and the Seerah of Sayyidah Zahra explains to us and says that Sayyidah Zahra used to do tasbih on her fingers until after the shahadat of her uncle, from which she took dust and made it tasbih and would do tasbih on that dust, on that turba that was taken from the grave of Sayyid Shuhada Hamza in his life. This is an explanation of where the status of these actions that we associate with ziyarat and we take benefit from comes from. So ziyarat matloob, it's desired, it's something Allah wants us to do, and its purpose is to turn back to Allah and to turn away from this dunya. Which is why one of the aspects of doing the ziyarat is important. And visiting the graves of the Ahlul Bayt, when Allah gives us the instruction and He says, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. Allah gives the explanation. He says the reward, the compensation that your Prophet asks you for giving this risala. Remember, where did this verse come from? This verse comes from the conversation that when a Nabi comes and a Prophet comes and he brings hidayah and guidance, he gives purpose to people in their life. Your life goes from something that's just about consuming material, surviving, living a day-to-day life, and all of a sudden the Prophet of Allah comes and he gives you purpose in existence in life. He gives you a direction to point to that adds value, that I'm not just here to consume and die, but there is a goal that I have to achieve. There is something I have to learn. There's someone who I have to be attached to. And my life has a purpose. That humanity, when they come to this realization that life has purpose, they want to thank the Nabi from amongst the Anbiya who gives it to them. All of the Anbiya, when they came and they taught the people purpose for their life, and the people said, we want to reward you, O Prophet of Allah. Every prophet replied, I don't want from you any reward. My reward is with Allah. The exception came with our Prophet, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. That he explained, and he says that Allah instructs him. Qul, Allah tells him, say, La as'alukum alayhi ajran illa mawaddata fil qurba. I don't want any reward from you. The same statement as the other Anbiya, except that you love my near ones. This love for the near ones that our Prophet is expressing, that is one of the responsibilities upon anyone who accepts the religion of Islam, is the love of the Ahlul Bayt. It's the love of the family of the Prophet. And our goal is to express that love and be attached to them. Hence the concept of ziyarah comes in, and to visit them is important as well too. It becomes so important that at times the ziyarah of the Ahlul Bayt gives greater reward than even the ziyarah of the house of Allah. Shall I give you an example? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. On the day of Arafah, the reward for the ziyarat of Imam Hussain is the equivalent of 1,000 Hajj, 1,000 Umrah, 1,000 Jihad, all as if you performed in the company of our Holy Prophet. 1,000 Hajj, meaning the one who is standing in Hajj has what? One Hajj. The one who is standing at the grave of Abu Abdullah has 1,000. And then 1,000. And then 1,000. Why? Because at times Allah is teaching us that loving them is having true understanding of what the Kaaba stands for. And if you haven't understood the love of them, then you're standing at the Kaaba, you can do 1,000 Hajj. You will never understand and appreciate and receive the reward that it deserves. Hence the concept of ziyarat becomes very important, and our goal is that, yes, it's true, to go to the ziyarah is very powerful with ma'rifah. But there is also that ziyarah that we recite that is from a distance as well too, that when I can't go to them, I can still benefit and build a connection with them. And which is why there are ziyarah that explain, that says that are done from qareeb wa ba'id, from near and from far, that you can recite these ziyarah. And some of the ziyarah are limited by time and specific to a time that they should be recited, and others are without a time. For example, Ziyarat-e-Arbaeen has a time, that the day of Arbaeen is when the ziyarah is intended to be recited. Ziyarat-e-Ashura is not like that. Though Ziyarat-e-Ashura is called Ziyarah of the day of Ashura, its significance is that it's Ziyarah commemorating the event of Ashura, not that it is only to be recited on the day of Ashura. This Ziyarah in particular has in it a great deal of depth and a great relationship and connection that builds between us and connects us to the Ahlul Bayt. This Ziyarah is narrated by Ibn Qawlaway in his kitab Kamil al-Ziyarah, and it is an authentic narration of this. Same way that Shaykh al-Tusi narrates this hadith as well too, of Ziyarat-e-Ashura, and he gives the explanation. It's famously noted that it was given to us by our fifth Imam, Abu Ja'far Muhammad ibn Ali al-Baqir alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. However, while it is narrated that Imam Baqir is the one who teaches this to Alqama, his companion, the truth is that Imam Baqir says that I was taught this by my father, who was taught this by his father, who was taught this by his father, who was taught this by Rasulullah, who received this from Jibreel, who brought this to us from Allah directly. Yani Ziyarat-e-Ashura is considered as Hadith-e-Qudsi, meaning the command in the word of Allah. Now what's interesting is that most of the Hadith-e-Qudsi that we receive was something that the Prophet told us. So Hadith-e-Qudsi is what? For our children we'll explain. The revelation that was received by our Prophet at times was the Quran specifically, and at times it was something other than the Quran. Hadith-e-Qudsi refers to that communication from Allah to our Prophet that is sent as revelation but is not from the Quran. It's the statement of Allah. This Ziyarat-e-Ashura is narrated as being Hadith-e-Qudsi that Allah specified for this hadith, for this ziyarah to be given. Now some may ask and said that if it was a ziyarah that was given by Allah, then why didn't the Prophet announce it? Why didn't Imam Ali announce it? Why didn't Imam Hassan? Why didn't Imam Hussain? Because there is a time for something to be revealed to the public. The same way that, for example, we say that the Quran came in inzal and tanzil. Inzal means that the entirety of the Quran was revealed in one instance upon the heart of the Prophet. He possessed the entirety of the Quran. Tanzil refers to the gradual revelation that our Prophet performed when he gave that message to humanity across a period of 23 years. That what it meant was that while our Prophet received the entirety of the Quran, humanity was not ready for it. Humanity needed 23 years of this process of gradual revelation to be able to accept and understand the verses of the Quran. So Allah gave it to our Prophet and then delayed our Prophet from releasing it to humanity. In the same concept, we say that this Hadith-e-Qudsi that we possess of Ziyarat-e-Ashura, when we call it Hadith-e-Qudsi, and there is debate about it, whether it's something that the Imam himself wrote or not, but the majority of our ulama point to and say that what this ziyarah possesses is something special in it that is unlike other language that we possess, and there's something unique within it. Which is why one of the things that we do is we use Ziyarat-e-Ashura as a wasila for the fulfillment of our du'as and hajat. Today, should someone possess a desire, should someone be in a need, going through a difficulty, one of the tools that you possess to fulfill your desire, remove your difficulty, is to approach Allah through this ziyarah and recite this ziyarah with its entirety of all of its conditions for a period of 5 days, 10 days, or 40 days, and you will find that your need is met. Something so authentic that communities over generations have written books on top of books explaining the kamalat and the mu'jizat of Ziyarat-e-Ashura. That when we approached Allah through this wasila, how our desires were met. So meaning it's something very important and useful, and this is where the understanding comes that when we say ziyarat, yes, the act is of performing a visitation, but what we recite is a dua coupled with a salam or a ma'rifat of the personality that we're visiting to ask their wasila to achieve our goal. Every ziyarat within it that we recite has a dua and has du'as associated with it, supplications, desires that we are asking Allah by the proximity of the individual that we are coming to fulfill our needs and desires. Some of the du'as, if you were to ponder over them and think about what am I saying, you may be awestruck to imagine that how could I ask for something like this? I'll give you an example. The verse we began our discussion with today. Surah Furqan, verse number 74. It's a dua of Nabi Ibrahim, in which Allah explains there are those who say, Rabbana hab lana azwajana wa dhurriyatana qurrata a'yun waj'alna lil muttaqina imama. This dua, if you understand what you're asking for, what Allah is saying, that, oh Allah, where Nabi Ibrahim says, oh Allah, make our wives and our children, our spouses and our children, the coolness of our eyes. About this is a very long discussion. We won't even touch this right now. Look at the final statement within the ayah. وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. And make us an imam for the muttaqeen, for the pious people in society. You and I, can we make this dua? Can we imagine to say to Allah, oh Allah, I want to be all the pious people. Make me their imam and leader. It's almost ostentatious to imagine, to ask such a dua as a normal person. This is dua of Ibrahim, what Ibrahim wanted to be. But had it not been in the Quran, we may say it's inappropriate. We may say that you're being proud, you're being boastful that you want to be the imam of the muttaqeen. But no, when Allah puts it in the Quran, it is a dua that each of us should recite. It's a dua that each of us should hope for and strive for and want to achieve. That, oh Allah, there are pious people in this earth, make us from amongst their leaders. Make us capable and qualified, not that as I am, but as someone who understands who you are Make me a leader for humanity and society. It's a good dua. But it may not be a dua that I come to from my own fruition and knowledge, because how far I imagine I am from that status. How amazing that status to be the Imam of the Muttaqeen. Me, I struggle to wake up for Fajr. We could have that argument. But here Allah is instructing, the same way in this ziyarah, if we approach it with ma'rifah, some of the instructions and the du'as that we're making that Allah has instructed us to make are amazing within themselves. Which is why learning the lessons of ziyarat and understanding that a ziyarat is a du'a, that coupled with saying salam upon the one who I'm visiting or I want to spend a visitation with, I'm asking by their right to attain something with Allah. And within the ziyarah are some amazing statements that we'll spend some time over tonight and tomorrow to have some ma'rifah and understanding of what it is that we want to ask Allah and what it is that we want to achieve with this dua. So with that, inshallah, we'll mention some of the excerpts of this dua and try and develop a ma'rifah and understanding of what it is we're asking for and what it is that Allah wants us to achieve through asking by the wasila of Imam Hussain and the great sacrifice of Imam Hussain. The first of these is a phrase within this ziyarah that comes about where Allah instructs us and says, أَن يَرْزُقَنِي طَلَبَ الثَّارِقِ. Oh Allah, I am asking you to bless me and grant me the right to seek vengeance for the killing of Imam Hussain. Talab al-Thariq, to go out and search for the vengeance of the killing of Imam Hussain. Do you know who is the one who is the true seeker of the vengeance of Imam Hussain? Is the Imam of our time. And here in Ziyarat-e-Ashura, one of the first things that we mention is that I'm asking that, oh Allah, make me like the Imam, that I too am the one who has the right to seek the vengeance of Imam Hussain. And it's the connection that we're asking to not just with Imam Hussain, but with the exact purpose of the Imam of our time. That, oh Allah, attach me not to just Aba Abdullah, but also the master of my time, who is the one who will seek this vengeance. Make me from amongst his companions and make me from amongst those whose purpose is to seek this vengeance. One of the exact purposes of the Imam of our time is seeking the vengeance for the murder of Imam Hussain. When you look and you see that in the tradition of the Arab, there's a red flag that is planted on some graves. The instruction of that red flag means that the one who has been killed there, his vengeance has not been taken yet. That he is unavenged up until today. When we look and we see that, for example, the idea that's discussed that Mukhtar went and he killed those who were present in the battlefield, it's true that those who were immediately present were killed. But vengeance is extracting the justice from not just those who were present, but those who agreed with, those who supported, those who supplied. And Mukhtar was not able to go out and to receive all of this in comparison. Thus we say that Imam Hussein's grave still bears that flag as an indication of saying that his murder has not yet been avenged, and that we are waiting for the day that this murder will be avenged. And the one who has been given that responsibility is none other than Sahib al-Asr wa zaman. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And that we are asking in this ziyarah, oh Allah, join me with him, with his purpose, make his purpose my purpose. Put me in his company. The second of these du'as that is mentioned in here, Allahumma ja'alni indaka wajihan. Oh Allah, make me illustrious in your sight. Make me wajihan in your sight. This concept of being referred to as wajihan is not a simple concept. It's actually a very high status that you're asking for, if we were to realize. Think of dua tawassul. What do we say? Ya wajihan indallah, ishfa' lana indallah. Wajihan is one of the titles by which we call to the Ahlul Bayt and say that they are the ones who are sublime in the eyes of God. They are the ones who have a superiority in the eyes of God. They have that great status in the eyes of God that by their righteous status, high status, and illustrious position, do shifa'ah for us, ya Ahlul Bayt. Here in Ziyarat-e-Ashura, we're making the statement, Allahumma ja'alni, oh Allah, make me next to you wajihan, illustrious. We're asking for that status, that join us with the Ahlul Bayt in the example that you have given to them. Oh Allah, give to us as well too. This is why I preface the conversation. And if you didn't see Allah teach us this in the Quran, to ask for things like to be the Imam of Muttaqeen, you may question that, is it seriously okay for us to ask that laqab which is given to Ahlul Bayt, that we ask for ourselves? Here Allah is instructing us to ask for this. The third of these, we make the dua in Ziyarat-e-Ashura, أَن يَجْعَلَنِي مَعَكُمْ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ, that we are asking Allah that, oh Allah, make me the companion, keep me with Imam Hussain in this world and the next. Seems simple, but if you understood that this was a desire of all of the Anbiya, what you're asking for is what the Anbiya asked for. When Zakaria received the instruction of the Haruf al-Muqatta'at of Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ain, Sad, and when he asked Allah, oh Allah. So the story, have you guys, all right, let's tell the story. You guys have a couple minutes? We're okay? We have time? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. The Anbiya have always asked by the wasila of Ahlul Bayt. Even the forgiveness of Nabi Adam, when he asks forgiveness for his leaving of what was better and being cast out from the garden where he was placed, he asks Allah by the wasila of the 5 names of Ahlul Bayt. All of the Anbiya would ask by this. Zakaria at one point in time makes a dua. He says, oh Allah, teach me a wasila, teach me a technique to make dua to you such that my dua is always answered. In reply to this, Jibreel comes and reveals to him and says, Zakaria, ask Allah by the names of Muhammad, Ali, Fatima, Hassan, and Hussein. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Zakaria finds this wasila to be incredibly powerful, and his desires are always answered. But at one point in time, he makes a dua and he says, Ya Allah, when I mention the first 4 of these names, my heart is pleased. I'm very happy. But whenever this 5th name comes to my tongue, I feel a sorrow in my heart. He says, Ya Allah, why? That's 4 please me and the 5th one brings grief to my heart. In reply to this, it's noted and said that Allah sent Jibreel to reveal Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ain, Sad, the start of Surah Al-Maryam. If you read the start of Surah Maryam, it's about Nabi Zakaria, not about Maryam. And Allah, the Haruf al-Muqatta'at in the riwayat explain, Kaf was for Karbala, Ha was for Halakat al-Hussein, Ya was for the Yazid Mal'un, Ain was for the Atash and the thirst of Aba Abdullah, and Sad was for his patience. When Zakaria hears this and he says, this is the grief that I possess, that your Habib, your beloved, his son will be killed in this way, they say that Zakaria made a dua in that instance. He says, oh Allah, by the right of that Habib and that beloved, give me a son who I will love the way that Rasulullah, Habibullah, your beloved, will love his son Hussein. And let me offer a sacrifice the way that Rasulullah will offer a sacrifice. Which is why in Tariq, authentically, the second in Azamat in Shahadat after Imam Hussein is this Yahya ibn Zakaria. The same way the head of Imam Hussein is taken from one location to another, so is the head of Yahya. The same way that there is an evil despot who kills Imam Hussein, there is an evil despot who kills Yahya. Now this status is something, the idea to be with Ahlul Bayt is not something light and little, but it was a desire of the Anbiya. That all of the Anbiya would pray to be raised to the status of the company and the companions of Ahlul Bayt. Which is why one of the barakat to go to Karbala for Ziyarah. Karbala in this world is a land you and I can visit freely, but it is from the gardens of heaven. And in the same book where we receive from Ibn Qawlaway is the explanation that the land of Karbala in Jannah will be where the Anbiya live. Not you and I. It will be the land of the Anbiya. So the desire to be the ones who are with the Ahlul Bayt, and that we're asking in this dua, أَن يَجْعَلَنِي مَعَكُمْ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. oh Allah, keep us with you in this world and the hereafter, is something the Anbiya would ask for, to make sacrifices like the Ahlul Bayt did, to earn the status that the Ahlul Bayt did. This dua is not a light dua. It's a great thing that we're asking for. Which brings us to the fourth of these du'as. Allahumma ja'al mahyaya mahya Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Oh Allah, make my life the same as the life of the Prophet and the household of the Prophet. And we're literally asking and saying that, oh Allah, the way they spent their life, give me the same kind of life that is devoted to you. And the next dua that we make, وَمَمَاتِ مَمَاتَ مُحَمَّدٍ وَآلِ مُحَمَّدٍ, that make our death the same as the death of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Which is what we're asking for, is the concept of shahadat, of bearing witness to the oneness of Allah in our death. Every imam is shaheed, meaning that he dies in the bearing witness of the oneness of Allah, and he is killed by the enemies of Allah. The most basic of this, we would say, is that, oh Allah, let me live my life and end my life with one focal point, which is you, oh Allah. Because that was the tradition of the Ahlul Bayt. But the beauty and the mercy of Allah is such that we have the narrations of Ahlul Bayt that tell us that if you are considered from amongst the Shia of Ahlul Bayt, you are considered shaheed even if you die in your bed in your house. May Allah give us tawfiq to be amongst the lovers of the Ahlul Bayt. This status, this great status of following their lifestyle, is something that we have to ask for. Otherwise, normally what happens, a person says, where are they and where am I? How could I be like them? No, that's the wrong way to think. We imagine this giant gulf between us and these great personalities. But the goal is for us to try and be like them. This is why they ate like us, they slept like us, they walked in the markets, they spent time with people. If it was to be that their example was unachievable, Allah would have sent malaika. He says this in the Quran, I sent you people as representatives so that you could follow their example. Be like them. Don't imagine that it's impossible. We think they were sinless, how could we be sinless? Yes, their isma is ismatil kubra. That isma, that sinlessness that is required for the religion of Islam to persist. But that doesn't mean that you and I can't be sinless. No, as a matter of fact, every single person sitting here, our goal is to be sinless. Every single one of us. Don't ever assume that, oh no, well, I gotta, kick a dog every now and then or something. No. You have the ability to be sinless, and you should be sinless. Start with 1 hour. Be sinless for an hour. Then extend it to 12 hours, then 24 hours, and then next day and next day and next day. When we talk about sinless personalities in history, they were people who went through the effort of following that example and simply thinking about it step by step. It's not a frightening goal to achieve, it's a very practical goal that whenever a sin approaches you, you turn away from it. You become conscious of that reality. And you separate yourself. This is how we live the life of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. And this is how we can then achieve the shahadat and the death of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad is by step. Just look at it as a small period of time. I just need to give a little bit of time. And then the next step will come. Sallu ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. The sixth of these du'as. وَأَسْأَلُهُ أَن يُبَلِّغَنِيَ الْمَقَامَ الْمَحْمُودَ لَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. We say in Ziyarat-e-Ashura, we make the statement, and I ask and I beseech him to make me attain the praiseworthy status that you enjoy with Allah. Maqam al-Mahmud. This Maqam al-Mahmud is not a little thing. To achieve this Maqam al-Mahmud, our Prophet was instructed, وَقُمِ اللَّيْلِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا, stand in this night in ibadat, فَتَحَجُّد, and perform the night prayers, so that you could attain Maqam al-Mahmud and receive that Maqam al-Mahmud. That's how that praiseworthy status is the status that we're asking Allah to give us in this dua. What is that Maqam al-Mahmud? That praiseworthy status is the ability to possess the right for shifa, for intercession. That is that great status with Allah that I myself have received najat and success. I have received a reward with Allah. But that now I can assist the next person who is in need to receive that reward as well. And that asking Allah to give us this tawfiq and this ability to attain this high status. This status of being able to intercede for others is not guaranteed to anyone. As a matter of fact, there'll be people who will not be allowed and will not possess this ability. And then there will be others who will require this to be able to attain salvation. But the mu'min and the one who practices iman and lives the values of iman and lives the life as a true lover of Ahlul Bayt and dies the death of a mu'min, Allah raises him to this status. Where it is that every mu'min, every believer on the Day of Judgment will have the right for shifa'ah, for intercession, for at least 40 people. Every believer. Which is why we have a statement from our sixth Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq alayhi salam. Be careful who you take assistance from. Be careful who you take assistance from. Because on the Day of Judgment, they will then force you to repay that assistance. See, it's not simply the fact that I can walk in heaven and inshallah Allah gives us all tawfiq and we go on the Day of Judgment in our faces of light, and on the Day of Judgment we are in the company of Ahlul Bayt, and that it comes time for intercession and shifa'ah, and we look at it and we say, this one and this one and not that one and not that. No. There will be those who have a right upon us who will then insist that we repay that right in that moment. This discussion is very important. Why? Because it teaches us that there are differences amongst people in society. Not differences that are important or significant on the basis of color or ethnicity or family lineage, but rather differences on the basis of iman. Allah explains this as well too in Surah Hujurat. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. The verse in Surah Hujurat, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha, wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qaba'ila lita'arafu. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. This part of this verse, Allah is pointing this out to teach us how to organize our lives and humanity. Let me explain. Within society, there's always a need to have a hierarchy and a social structure. Humanity needs this. In the history of Islam, before Islam, the hierarchy was based upon lineage, which is why the Quraysh used to consider themselves superior to all other people. And we are better than everyone else because we are Quraysh. And the traditions that were established at that time were basically, if you belonged to a particular lineage, you had honor and dignity. And you would go out of your way to raise the status of your family and your lineage because that meant you had a social status and a ranking in society. But when Allah sent Islam, He sent Islam with the intention of breaking the hierarchy and social status that was based on the concept of lineage. Which is why Allah mentions, and He says, O mankind, we created you from amongst men and women and families and clans so that you may know one another. Not that you have hierarchy on this basis. And this is why He explains, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. That certainly the one who has the highest social status and ranking amongst you is the one who is pious. This significance, and today this hierarchy system still exists today. We still have it. We've shifted from the concept of lineage, it's true. But now it's on the basis of wealth. The wealthier a person is, the greater their status in society. We don't even ask the question where the wealth came from. We admit and we acknowledge that most of these people who have exorbitant amounts of wealth, it's because of illicit means. They've done something wrong, they've taken someone's right, they've abused someone, they've been unfair, whether it's to the people who work under them, or it's to the people who they did business with, or it's to the society at large and they took advantage of the resources that were supposed to belong to a community, or literally they did something that was illegal by the government and by social rules and moral rules. There is no way a man possesses $1 billion in this day and age and he does it through moral means. It's not physically possible. They take the rights of others and that's how they take it, but we don't care. This is why there are articles that say 6 effective habits of how to start your day like a billionaire. What does that mean? That means that we follow the seerah and that the social ranking is based upon the concept of wealth, and the greater the wealth a person possesses, the more we want to be like them. Understanding this and understanding that that means nothing in the eyes of Allah tells us that our direction of building a society right now is broken. We don't build a society correctly. The reason I mention this is that today, we consider ourselves at times lesser to someone who possesses greater wealth than us. We feel we need to bow down to, or to follow the instruction of, or to look up to someone who possesses great wealth. But that system of supporting and bowing down to someone who has authority on an illegitimate means nothing in the eyes of Allah. Means nothing. You think when the door of our Imam comes, may Allah hasten his reappearance. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. That the possession of wealth will honor and dignify somebody in the eyes of the Imam? No. The Imam will rebuild the society on the social structure that Allah wants. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. Those who will be pious, who will prefer Allah over themselves, will be the ones who will be honorable ones in society. The significance of mentioning all of this is that today, understand and appreciate the honor and the dignity you possess. That today you possess a dignity and a status in the eyes of Allah that will give you the ability that if you follow this faith and live by the priority of this faith, that you will have the ability to grant salvation to people in humanity. That you will be the possessor of Maqam al-Mahmud, the raised status in the eyes of Allah. The one who possesses more than simply to be able to save themselves, but to bring salvation to others. Honor the dignity you possess. When we talk about this concept of ziyarat, everybody's with me? We're okay? A few more minutes, I promise I won't take too much longer. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. You're not like normal people. Don't behave like normal people. You are the nobility that exists. The Zair of Imam Hussain is like the one who goes to the ziyarat of the throne of Allah. How can you be like anybody else? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. One who goes to the ziyarat of Imam Hussain, it's narrated and said that there is an angel when you leave the ziyarah who stamps your forehead with a seal. And this seal on the day of Mahshar will have a light that will encompass all of the people around you. And when you are stamped by the seal as the Zair of Imam, the angel says, now go forth and do good, there is nothing left for your counting. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. The significance of me mentioning this is not to say that there is a superior race and we are that race, and that, oh, treat yourself and treat everyone else like trash. But no, the idea is possess a dignity, that you're not like other people. If other people curse in their speech, we don't do that. If other people lie, they're abusive, I'm not like that. I can't behave the way society behaves, especially in the country we live in. We're seeing the moral decay of the culture we live in. We're seeing the society fall apart and dignity being less and less valuable, indecency being more and more appreciated. Don't follow society. You're better than that because you are attached to something better than that. You're asking Allah to raise you to Maqam al-Mahmud, the status that our Prophet was given. How can you attain that status if your character reflects that of the commoner in society? It doesn't mean that look down upon people and abuse them. No. Rather, the Ahlul Bayt used to be the ones who served and improved the entire environment that was around them, not one who cursed the environment around them. That's not the significance of this message. This message is don't adopt the values of people, rather teach them the values of Ahlul Bayt. Don't come to their standard, raise them to your standard. If you find that people in school or at work curse, have such a character that when you come into the room, they stop cursing. If you find that people want to do something bad, have that character that they are embarrassed to do something bad and illicit in front of you. Not that they say, hey, Abbas, come join me. Let's go kick this orphan. What happened? Where's the dignity of the name Abbas? Where's the honor of that name in that position? They don't know it doesn't mean I don't know it. I know what the name Abbas means. I know what the character that represents. I have to embody that. If on the one hand I'm asking Allah that raised me to Maqam al-Mahmud, the other side of it is that I have to act like someone who deserves it. Society wants you to think of life this way, that accidentally, without knowing, you possess something and it will come about within you. That one day the world will uncover and discover that you're special. Islam says no. Islam says act like what you want to earn. Act with dignity and honor if you want to have a raised status. Act with the characteristics of the Ahlul Bayt if you want to be in their company. Don't imagine that knowing them without enacting their values will build any connection between you and them. When we make the dua for Maqam al-Mahmud, for that raised status, it's not going to come by accident. It's not going to come without deserving it. If you don't make the sacrifice in this life, how can you imagine that you are worthy of it in the hereafter? It has to come with work, and we have to invest that work to acknowledge that if I possess the ability to make this dua, I have to reflect the character of one who can make this dua. The next of these, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Make this the last one for tonight. There is one part of this dua, one part of this ziyarah, which is very powerful in the sense that if we understood what we're asking for. We say, وَبِالشَّأْنِ الَّذِي لَكُمْ عِنْدَهُ أَن يُعْتِيَنِي بِمُصَابِبِكُمْ أَفْضَلَ مَا يُعْتِي مُصَابًا بِمُصِيبَتِهِ. In this dua, we make a statement. We say, Oh Allah, I beseech you, and in the name, وَبِالشَّأْنِ الَّذِي لَكُمْ عِنْدَهُ, and by the status that Imam Hussain possesses with Allah, and that the position that Imam Hussain enjoys with Allah, to recompense me for my commiseration for you. The most favorable, afdala, the most beneficial, the best things that he ever gives as compensation for misfortunes that afflicted anyone. You're literally saying in this dua, Oh Allah, reward me like you will reward Abu Abdullah. Whatever his difficulty was, Allah, count it as my difficulty. Put me with him as if I stood there with him. Put me with him as if I made those sacrifices that he made. Give me the reward for the best one who suffers the greatest of affliction. And there is no one who in greatness of affliction more so than Imam Hussain. There's no one who gave what he gave, who went through what he went through. This is why the concept of understanding the character you need to possess to make this statement, that not only do I want to know Imam Hussain, not only do I want to be attached to him, but oh Allah, give me what you give him. Make his bala my bala. Make his difficulty my difficulty, so that I am with him every step of the way, and everything that he receives, I receive. Can you imagine the azamat of this dua? Can you imagine the azamat of what you're asking Allah to give you? The status that we're asking for? The position we're asking for? That we are equal to Abu Abdullah in this affliction, that his affliction is my affliction? Who do I need to be to say that? Who do I need to be to deserve that? part of how we attain that is by the nature of how Allah built us. Think of it. There's someone who I never met, who I've never seen a picture of, I've never seen anything about. But when I hear of his difficulties, tears come to my eyes. This crying for Imam Hussein is within itself a miracle. It's not something natural. The nature of things is what? We lose someone, we're sad. The longer we're away from them, the less and less sad we remain. It's harder to be sad. But here is someone we never saw, we never sat with, we may not have a blood connection with, maybe generations are between us and them. But every year without fail, I hear his name, I hear his difficulty, and grief enters my heart. This grief is desired. It's wanted to possess this grief. It's this grief over the difficulties that the Ahlul Bayt went, that our Ahlul Bayt would teach us. Imam Rada would teach, Ya ibn al-Shabib, in kunta baqiyan, fabqi lil-Husayn. Imam Rada would teach this to his companions. He would say, Oh Shabib, oh son of Shabib, if you are going to cry for anything, cry for Hussein ibn Ali. Don't cry for anyone else. Famously, it's narrated that what Sayyid Khomeini had a young son who was a very pious young man by the name of Sayyid Mustafa Khomeini. Today he is buried at the feet of Amir al-Mu'mineen. When this son of his died, they said, we did not see Sayyid Khomeini weep. We told him, cry, you've lost a great wealth, a great possession that you had has been lost to you. But he would not cry for his child. Until eventually the ulama said, then fine, make the majlis for the son of Imam Hussein and call this Khomeini. They describe and say that when the majlis of Ali al-Akbar was recited, Sayyid Khomeini would weep for the son of Imam Hussein, as if that was his loss, as opposed to cry for his son and the loss that he possessed. This weeping that we have, don't cry for anyone else. Cry as if you were with Abu Abdullah and it was your loss that he witnessed. What a loss is this Akbar. Imagine and see that in the field of Karbala, all of the companions have been spent. And this young man who looks the face of Rasulullah steps in front of you and says, Father, I have seen you and I have borne patiently as each of your companions went out. And you would run after them in the field of Karbala, and these enemies would torture you and would bother you every time you went. Remember that this is where he had witnessed that when Habib fell and Imam Hussein runs, that the enemy comes and bothers him. That when the companions, they would be killed, their heads would be thrown at the feet of Abu Abdullah in the tents of the women. This young son says, Oh Father, give me permission. My blood burns with how they have disrespected you. And the Imam turns and he says, have you asked the permission of your aunt and of the ladies before I let you go? I am ready to present my sacrifice, but oh Akbar, you are not just my sacrifice. Your aunt Zainab who has raised you, you must take her permission as well. Your mother Layla who raised you from infancy, you must take her permission as well. They describe and they say that Akbar, when he proceeds into the tents, a long period of time passes, but he does not come out until eventually Abu Abdullah himself goes in the tents to see what is going on. And he finds the women have encircled this young man. And every time in his josh that he wants to leave, one more pulls at his shirt and says, give us 1 minute. Whenever we would miss Rasulullah, we would look at your face. And now you are going to where no one comes back from. Imam Hussein eventually pulls this young man out and says, go. They describe and say that Akbar, in now his freedom to be able to express his frustration, to be able to stand against the enemies of his father, mounts his horse and intends now to gallop to the field. But he hears his father behind him, who is following the young son into the battlefield. At this realization, the son says, Baba, I bid farewell to you. I said my goodbye. Why now are you following me then? The statement of the father, imagine if you had to say this to your child. Akbar, if you had a son like you would understand how difficult this moment is for me. They describe and say when Akbar was an infant in his cradle, Layla wakes up at one night and she finds a shadow over the cradle of her son. She becomes startled that who is this shadow? And as she becomes startled, Imam Hussein replies, oh Layla, it is me. I missed my son, so I look at him in his cradle. That was the love the father had for the son. Imagine that we loved a child like that. And we are sending him to his death. That as he proceeds away from us, we know we will never see him the same again. Abu Abdullah wept so much his beard became wet. He held his beard to the heavens and he said, oh Allah, bear witness. I am sending in front of this enemy one who is the most like your beloved prophet on this earth. In speech and seerah and picture and character. He turns and he says, oh Asad, what is wrong with you? Why are you killing my lineage? How difficult that moment for a father. They describe and say that Abu Abdullah watches this young son. The jihad of Akbar is famous. He kills over 200 of the enemies. In his first attack against the enemy, he kills 120 of the enemy soldiers. And he doesn't just kill anyone. He looks for the champions amongst the army. Why? Akbar knows after my shahadat, these champions will kill my father. So he goes looking for the best in the army until eventually he faces off against such an enemy that Abu Abdullah calls out and he says, Layla, make dua for your son. Pray that Allah returns him to me again. Why ya Rasulullah? Has he fallen? Has anything happened? He says, no. My son is fighting against the seasoned champion. He is thirsty for 3 days. I cannot imagine that a young man could win against such a champion. Layla raises her hands in dua and calls out to Allah, Ya man radda Yusuf ila Yaqub. O one who returned Yusuf to his old father Yaqub, I am asking you to return my grown son to me, but not for my sake. بحق هذا الغريب. But for this one who is a stranger in this land, who has no one else. In your old age, your children are your support. You count on them. You lean on them. Even if you don't, as your strength fades, you look at their beauty. You look at their strength. They become the coolness of your eyes. Abu Abdullah watches his son in the battlefield. This young son returns from that valiant effort. And what does he say to his father? Baba, this armor is cutting into my flesh. The thirst is killing me. How does a young son worried about his father bid farewell? May Allah give our children that ihtaram, that he doesn't say, Baba, now I'm going to die if I return. He says, Baba, now I don't know if I have the strength to continue on fighting. That's mercy that son has. Abu Abdullah offers him and he says, take my tongue into your mouth. Maybe you will find some comfort, my child. Every parent wishes for their child. If I see my son in difficulty, I would give him anything I possess. Abu Abdullah uncovers some of his masa'ib by offering assistance to his grown son. He says, take my tongue into your mouth. Maybe you will find some comfort. The young man replies, Baba, you are in worse condition than I am. You are suffering more than I am. Your difficulty is greater than mine. This is why they describe in the second attack of this child, the first is 120 warriors. Again, he returns and he kills 80 of the warriors of Umar Asad. 200 of the soldiers of Umar Asad this young man kills. Imagine what happens when that child is attacked from behind by Mal'un Marra. He falls forward on his horse and he calls out to his father a salam that has no answer. Alayka minni salam abata. They describe and say, upon hearing this call in the battlefield, Sayyidah Zainab comes to the face of the tent. She sees Abu Abdullah struggle to run into the field. She calls out, "Oh brother, Akbar calls you from the right, you run to the left. Where are you going? Why do you not go to your son?" Abu Abdullah replies, "La tulumuni, don't blame me. When I heard him call, I lost the light of my eyes. I don't know where to go." This is the musibah. You ask Allah, join me in this musibah. They describe and say, this young man, in 1 minute I'll finish with you, but this one moment of knowing how difficult this was. Oh Allah, if we had a child that we loved like this. They describe and say, when Akbar fell from the horse, the enemies encircled his body. They had already cut him piece to piece. He lay wounded beyond mortally in the field of Karbala. They encircled him. Every other shaheed that fell, they would go to behead him, but Akbar they didn't. Akbar they stood around. Remember when Abul Fadl fell and he was waiting for Imam Hussain to come, what was he calling out? He was saying, "Oh enemies of Allah, I know you want to collect my head. Wait, let me bid farewell to my Imam." That was their culture. But when it came to Akbar, they stood around in circles, watching. One of my teachers would describe that they stood in the stirrups of their horses, looking at the body of Akbar on the field of Karbala. When you would ask why, the answer would come, "We wanted to see out as an old man bid farewell to his grown son who has been killed so mercilessly." Therefore they describe how difficult this musibah was. They say, "We saw Hussein ibn Ali come upon this young man in the field, touch his cheek to the cheek of his grown son. We saw he could not find comfort. We saw Hussein ibn Ali lay on the sand of Karbala and hug the chest of his grown son, lay his son on top of him, and lay in the field of Karbala." They said, "We do not know how long he stayed in this condition until eventually a lady called out, 'Oh Hussein, I have come for your assistance.'" Abu Abdullah's honor and dignity was touched. He says, "Oh sister, I said for you not to come out as long as Hussein is alive." Sayyidah Zainab would reply, "Oh brother, this loss is so great, I was worried that you would die from the difficulty." على لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون رضا بقضائه وتسليما لأمره. With tears in your eyes we raise our hands. ندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم. يا الله 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 يا محمود بحق محمد، يا أعلى بحق علي، يا فاطر السماوات بحق فاطمة، يا محسن بحق الحسن، يا قديم الأحسان بحق الحسين. Ya Allah, accept this small ibadah from us. Ya Allah, give the thawab of this majlis to the marhameen of tonight's sponsors, our marhameen and all the mu'mineen who are in need of dua. Ya Allah, forgive our sins and cover our flaws. Ya Allah, we have gathered here with hajat. By the right of Thursday night, by the right of the Quran and Ahlul Bayt, fulfill our hajat. Ya Allah, those amongst our families, our communities, the mu'mineen who are suffering through sickness and disease, give shifa and health to all the mu'mineen. Oh Allah, those who are suffering through insecurity and strife and war, give aman to the mu'mineen and muslimeen wherever they are in this world. Ya Allah, keep our children and our families on the upright path of Ali Muhammad. Give us the tawfiq to live the life and the death of Ali Muhammad. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of Sahib al-Zaman. Make us and our families from the upright supporters of Sahib al-Zaman. Entitle us to the Ziyarat of Imam Hussain in this world and the Shafa of Imam Hussain in the hereafter. One Surah Fatiha with your loudest of salawat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Muhammad wa Matim Hussain.
Hussein, 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 Hussein.
خدا کے واسطے بابا کوئی یتیم نہ ہو، کوئی یتیم نہ ہو. خدا کے واسطے بابا کوئی یتیم نہ ہو، کوئی یتیم نہ ہو. یہ بولی رک کے سکینہ کوئی یتیم نہ ہو، کوئی یتیم نہ ہو. کہ سکینہ کوئی یتیم نہ ہو، کوئی یتیم نہ ہو. یہاں یتیم تو قیدی بنائے جاتے ہیں، ستم رسیدوں کو درے لگائے جاتے ہیں. یہ بولی روک کے سکینہ کوئی یتیم نہ ہو، کوئی یتیم نہ ہو. خدا کے واسطے بابا کوئی یتیم نہ ہو، کوئی یتیم نہ ہو. یہاں یتیموں کو در در پھیرایا جاتا ہے، اسیر کر کے تماچا لگایا جاتا ہے. یہ بولی روک کے سکینہ کوئی یتیم نہ ہو، کوئی یتیم نہ ہو. خدا کے واسطے بابا کوئی یتیم نہ ہو، کوئی یتیم نہ ہو. مدد کے واسطے کوئی نظر نہیں آتا، فغا میں کرتی کوئی ادھر نہیں آتا. یہ بولی رو کہ سکینہ کوئی یتیم نہ ہو، کوئی یتیم نہ ہو. خدا کے واسطے بابا کوئی یتیم نہ ہو، کوئی یتیم نہ ہو. بلا رہی ہوں چچا کو، چچا نہیں آتے، مدد کے واسطے شیر خدا نہیں آتے. یہ بولی روک کے سکینہ کوئی یتیم نہ ہو، کوئی یتیم نہ ہو. خدا کے واسطے بابا کوئی یتیم نہ ہو، کوئی یتیم نہ ہو.
ہمارے رونے پہ کفار مسکراتے ہیں، گلے کی خیچ کی رسی ہمیں ستاتے ہیں۔ یہ بولی روک کے سکینہ کوئی یتیم نہ ہو، کوئی یتیم نہ ہو۔
خدا کے واسطے بابا کوئی یتیم نہ ہو، کوئی یتیم نہ ہو۔
سکینہ کہتی تھی معصوم شام میں رو کر، تمہاری شکل ہمیں بھولتی نہیں ہے پدر۔ یہ بولی رو کے سکینہ کوئی یتیم نہ ہو، کوئی یتیم نہ ہو۔
خدا کے واسطے بابا کوئی یتیم نہ ہو، کوئی یتیم نہ ہو۔
حسین حسین
حسین حسین حسین حسین حسین حسین
کہتی تھی سکینہ رو رو کر، امو میں ابھی تک پیاسی ہوں۔ کہتی تھی سکینہ رو رو کر، امو میں ابھی تک پیاسی ہوں۔ کہتی تھی سکینہ رو رو کر، امو میں ابھی تک پیاسی ہوں۔ کیا دور ہے دریا خیمے سے، اب تک جو نہیں واپس آئے۔ سیراب کرو اب تو آ کر، امو میں ابھی تک پیاسی ہوں۔ کہتی تھی سکینہ رو رو کر، امو میں ابھی تک پیاسی ہوں۔ آنے میں نہ اب تاخیر کرو، پانی کی کوئی تدبیر کرو۔ مر جائے گی ورنہ تشنا جگر، امو میں ابھی تک پیاسی ہوں۔ کہتی تھی سکینہ رو رو کر، امو میں ابھی
تک پیاسی
ہوں۔ برسات ہے رن میں تیروں کی، ناوک سے بچا نہ مشک میری، لگ جائے نہ کوئی تیرا کر، امو میں ابھی تک پیاسی ہوں۔ کہتی تھی سکینہ رو رو کر، امو میں ابھی تک پیاسی ہوں۔ معصوم سکینہ کا نوحہ تا حشر نہ بھولے گی دنیا، تڑ پائے گا یہ فقرہ اکثر، امو میں ابھی तक प्यासी हूँ, कहती थी सकीना रो रो कर।
मैं अभी तक प्यासी हूँ।
Hussein, 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 Hussein,
Hussein,
Hussein, Hussein.
Hussein, Hussein.
Said Hussein on the day of Ashura, O my son, O Ali Akbar, O Ali Akbar. Said Hussein on the day of Ashura, O my son, O Ali Akbar, O Ali Akbar. Said Hussein on the day of Ashura, O my son, O Ali Akbar, O Ali Akbar. I'm trying to find you, but I have lost my sight. How can I search for you? My feet are faltering. I'm looking for you. I'm searching for you. Said Hussein on the day of Ashura, O my son, O Ali Akbar, O Ali Akbar. Your mother's in the tent, just waiting for some news. Her prayers are with you, and tears are in her eyes. I'm looking for you, I'm searching for you. Said Hussein on the day of Ashura, O my son, O Ali Akbar, O Ali Akbar. The spear is in your heart, and tears are in your eyes. How can I take it out? How can I see you die? I'm crying for you, I'm crying for you. Said Hussein on the day of Ashura, O my son, O Ali Akbar, O Ali Akbar. I've taken out the spear, but you have stopped breathing. Tell me how I can breathe. My heart has stopped beating. I'm dying for you, I'm dying for you. Said Hussein on the day of Ashura, O my son, O Ali Akbar, O Ali Akbar. Said Hussein on the day of Ashura, O my son, O Ali Akbar, O Ali Akbar, O Ali Akbar, O Ali Akbar. Ya Hussein, say Ya Hussein, say Ya Hussein, Hussein, Ya Hussein, 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 Hussein. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali.
السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا علي أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب خصوصا سيدي ومولاي أبو الفضل العباس ابن أمير المؤمنين وأختك زينب وأم كلثوم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا علي زين العابدين ومحمد بن علي الباقر وجعفر بن محمد الصادق وموسى بن جعفر الكاظم وعلي بن موسى الرضا ومحمد بن علي التقي الجواد وعلي بن محمد النقي الهادي والحسن بن علي العسكري والحجات بن الحسن المهدي. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Muhammad wa all the young ones come and shake Maulana's hand. Inshallah, tomorrow we'll have the Majlis at the same time after Maghrib and Isha Salat, inshallah.